Joining us now here in studio, Lee Bartel. He is Professor and Associate Dean of Research at the Faculty of Music, University of Toronto, and it's great to have you here tonight.
Nice being here.
We know about music as therapy, but this notion of music as medicine, that's one step beyond that. You want to explain that?
Sure. Music therapy is probably most commonly known by most people, and essentially it is about a relationship between therapist and client. The relationship is the key, and they use music in order to accomplish specific things. For example, Amy Clemens-Cortez at Baycrest, who is a senior music therapist there, is very concerned about palliative care and use of music therapy in the context of palliative care. And she recently did a study, it's in a book now called Episodes of Relationship Completion, in which she engaged people who were in the last months of their life in a process of using music to complete a relationship, probably with somebody like a spouse, a significant other. And so she would ask them to select a song that had a particular message that they wanted to give to their spouse. And so in one case, this person selected 10 songs. Some of the songs didn't have exactly the right words. So this person would write the words or rewrite the words. And then they had the person, or Amy particularly, sing these songs for the spouse, and then took another 10 sessions or so over the weeks to take one song at a time and say, what did I really want to say to you with it? It's a classic music therapy example where the benefits are psychosocial, the benefits are between the therapist and the person in whom you're dealing with. Music is a means, music is a vehicle, music is something that engages the person and carries this whole therapy forward. Music medicine, on the other hand, would be something we might better describe as a prescription. Take 2 songs and call me in the morning kind of thing.
Thank you, doctor.
In which you might say, here's a particular kind of sound or vibration or music, and music is viewed in that case as sound, as vibration, rather than as music as a cultural product. And the effect is direct on the person. An example is a study done by Heidi Ahonen, senior music therapist and professor at Wilfrid Laurier University and researcher in the research center there. And about 2 years ago, she worked with Parkinson's disease patients and applied to them, I guess is how you would say, low frequency sound in the 30 to 40 hertz range, which is very low sound. And essentially the dose was 30 minutes of sound, and what the effect was is that their symptoms decreased. Now, it was not about the relationship between Haiti and the patient at all. It was about the patient coming in and being given a dose of sound. That is music medicine in its sort of purest form.
I got another example I want to show you, and that is, just check the monitor over my shoulder here. This is Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, who people will remember was shot in the head in Arizona. It's been 10 months since she underwent repairs. She was in critical condition, and music was used in her rehab. Let's check it out. Michael, if you would, roll the tape.
Gabby, did the words sometimes just come out?
Yes.
And you can't control it? Can I promise you something?
Yes.
It will get better.
Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony. That's a very business cat and called it macaroni.
Explain to us how a woman who can barely conduct a conversation can sing.
It's an interesting phenomenon. Language, of course, is situated at various parts of the brain, and we do have structures for that. One of the structures that's damaged in her case is sort of toward the front left side, the Broca's area, which is involved in the assembly of speech into a sentence and so on. In her case, we can see that music is assembling this, which is otherwise not happening. And the reason is that music is a separate system, at least some people would argue so, and it seems to be, and it is also very distributed, in some ways more distributed in the brain than the language function. And so you have, when you memorize a song, as in this case, it is represented in melody on one side of the brain, in rhythm on the other side of the brain. There is a linguistic part to that there's an emotional part to that, there's a process part to that, there's a structural part to that, and these are represented in different parts of the brain. So the metaphor I would use here, it's like you're trying to go to a website, and the website doesn't respond when you click on it. The link is broken. And so she wants to go to a Word website, and the link is broken. She can't get to it. But what you find is that you go to another website, and that website has a side link to the website you want to go to. So in a sense, it's a crude metaphor, but that's what's happening here. She is going to another system that has access to the verbal concepts in a way that she can't have when she tries to go there directly.
Let me ask you about the other system then, that sub-website, if you like. Is there one particular genre of music that gets you better results, better access than others?
No, it's not in the genre of music, it is in what is in the person's mind. And so if a person happens to have a large stock of pop songs, that would be the access. If another person has a stock of jazz songs, that would be it. One of the common stock of songs that most people in North America will have, or in any culture, will be the songs of their childhood. And so you're pretty safe if you go to the songs of childhood. So happens
like
that...
her for Yankee Doodle.
Exactly, Yankee Doodle. And the same thing appears to happen in the case where the person has Alzheimer's, and they may no longer be able to function in terms of conversation because of memory, but you engage them in singing, and suddenly they can sing the songs of their childhood.
Okay, that's speech we talked about. What about mobility? Can music also help to regain mobility?
And you see that in the Gabby Gifford case, is that the music therapist strums a guitar in rhythm with a walking. The cerebellum at the back of the brain, which in her case is not damaged, is keenly involved in the coordination of rhythm and movement. And this is evident in Parkinson's sufferers who find it difficult to coordinate gait or to coordinate their steps and to activate steps. When they're given a pulse, a regular rhythm that's in the rhythm of the walking, suddenly they can make those actions. And the reason is that the cerebellum very quickly picks up sort of a neural response to a rhythm that's given externally. So a strum from a guitar will be a rhythm.
That's not a note, though. That's a
It's just a rhythmic. You can do it with a snap of the
rhythm
finger.
as opposed to a note.
Yes. So it's not pitches. It's in this case, it's the rhythm that sets up a response and entrainment in the cerebellum, and that part of the brain then tends to interact with the other portions of the brain that coordinate movement and make it easier. So what we're looking for here is music that facilitates, that gives you an access point that motivates something else in the brain to do it. And that's the key part of neurologic music therapy, which is what the therapist in Gabby Giffords' case is trained in. It's sort of halfway between music therapy tradition and music therapy or music medicine. It uses some of both.
But let me give a bit of an absurd example here. If you, as you say, it goes back to childhood and what you liked. If you grew up on rock and roll and they tried to play classical music to try to get you to move better or speak better, I guess it wouldn't work. It
would work to some extent for movement because the perception of the rhythm is not stylistic. So as long as you would have a rhythm going on, and if you played a strong rhythmic pulse within classical music, it would still have the effect. It wouldn't have the effect on the emotional system or the affective system that the other music that you like would. And this is an interesting factor that particularly in pain reduction, in those sorts of aspects, it is music that people self-select that is most effective.
Let me read you an excerpt from The Scientist magazine, which came out earlier this year. It goes like this. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll have more in common than we thought. A new study published online in Nature Neuroscience demonstrates for the first time that music causes the release of dopamine in the brain, just like other pleasurable stimuli, such as food, drugs, and sex. Even the anticipation of a pleasurable musical crescendo results in the release of dopamine, the authors report. How significant do you think these findings are for recognition of music therapy within the medical community?
I think it's highly important. It's a study by Salampur and Blood, the folks in Montreal, and they found last January, they reported that this effect was now measurable. And that was really the key. It had been theorized some years before. I was at a conference in 2007 where it was speculated that music that had this effect, particularly peak experience music that sort of gives you that shiver down the backbone, music that you'd select for that excitement factor, could have a role in the treatment of addicts, because you could substitute the dopamine release from the music instead of the
drug
drugs.
that they're on.
So you could replace it for that. Or I suppose if you pile it on top of music and sex, you might have a bigger hit. But it's not only dopamine which is affected. We know that music can also have an effect on serotonin. There was a study reported to us about 3 weeks ago at the University of Toronto from a researcher in Austria, Vera Brandes, which shows that they have now selected very specific music, and when it's applied, taking into account the natural chronobiology of the body.
The natural what?
Chronobiology, biorhythm, the effect of daytime, nighttime rhythms, is now more effective in the clinical trials than Prozac or Zoloft and those family of drugs. So what the music does in this case is give you a release of serotonin and counteracts depression. We've also seen it in terms, of course, and we've known for years, that music will act as a stress relief and will decrease cortisol, but is also shown to increase interleukin-2 and interleukin-1, which therefore boosts the immune system. So the effect of music on the neurotransmitters and the brain hormones is incredible, and it's certainly to be exploited in music medicine.
And the medical community, I mean, you're teaching at University of Toronto,
Yes.
so I know you guys know this, but this information is now spreading into the medical community as well.
We are trying
Gaining
to
acceptance, I
We're
guess.
trying to spread it in the medical community. The last 5 years has seen a remarkable increase in interest and in acceptance of these dimensions, and it is only in the last 5 or so years that we've started to really put the picture together in a scientific way. We've had music therapy for years, and that addressed motivation, psychosocial aspects, but now to be able to address that it's in a scientific, measurable way with the typical bioindicators is a new phenomenon, and we're moving directly into this at the University of Toronto. We're pulling together medical researchers from all the hospitals and we'll be hoping to create a research center that will focus on this in the near future.
Let's finish up on this. What type of music do you recommend for the average person who wants to benefit from the healing powers of sound and rhythm?
Well, as I said before, the person's preference is a very strong factor in this.
What if you don't know what their preference is?
Well, you would ask them to choose. So I wouldn't prescribe to the person. I would say, pick something that you like, that you know to be, let's say the person wants to relax and the person is stressed and they need to do a relaxation. I'd pick relaxing music. If I were to pick my own music, I would suggest music that is designed, in fact, to affect brain waves. I design a series of music that I measure with EEG, and I look at the response, and so I know that music of certain types will have a certain effect.
What would it be for you?
Well, for me, it is music that has sort of a light folk feeling to it, because I grew up with folk music, and to me that communicates. It has a nice, easy, long melody that moves just slightly slower than I might want to sing in, so that
what do you
it
think,
sort of
like
pulls me back.
Joan Baez, Joni Mitchell,
Yeah,
Peter,
that
Paul,
sort
and
of
Mary?
exactly.
Pete Seeger even?
Well, the banjo doesn't usually do it for me.
Okay, but I'm on the right track with the other
Yes,
Huh.
exactly.
I hear they paved Paradise and put up a parking lot.
They
get you going.
They have, yes.
Okay. That's fascinating stuff. Lee Bartel, it's good of you to come in from U of T tonight to help us out with this. Thanks
My
so much.
pleasure.